Back in Miami, Benzinga 2023. It is buzzing out there with lots of really cool people walking around and lots of cool, interesting conversations, projects, ideas, etc. It's very exciting. Dimitri Downing back with
George Stantchev, Pure 5, faster, better extraction.
my PhD fact-checking co-host who just, if I say something wrong, he just says stop. Fortunately, he just doesn't do that much because I'm always right. No, I'm just kidding. But he is our fact checker. And thank you, George, always for co-hosting. I'm here with another couple cool individuals that I've known for a while in the cannabis space who are industry experts who have a really cool new project that we're going to get to. But first, we're going to introduce you to them so you can know a little bit about who they are, their journey into, through, and where they're at now in cannabis. And then we'll save the new project for after we get to introduce you guys to the audience out there. So Sarah, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Dimitri. And it's always fun to run into you all around the world and see where we'll overlap.
I love people, and they do such interesting things. And you've got a huge cannabis background. Where should we start?
We should start in 2016.
2016.
On the eve of legalization in California when the voters were looking to...
You set that up well.
Prop 64.
On the eve of cannabis legalization.
It was really like that. We knew that a whole new era was coming. And my first entree into the cannabis industry in a formal way was I ran a ballot initiative for a county in Northern California to try to bring our local regulations into alignment with the state. And ever since, I've been on this roller coaster ride of legalization with front row seats on how it has worked to roll out legalization and how it hasn't worked, honestly, in California. I did a lion's share of my work in Northern California, working with industry associations, businesses, private clients, to move legalization forward and then to try to fix it. So for almost a decade, I've been doing that work and now have expanded through my firm, Golden State Public Affairs, to work in other counties, other states, and other countries around the world so that we can hopefully learn from the mistakes we've made and do better.
Are you guys still based out of Northern California?
Yes. When I'm home, I like to say I'm based out of the airplane.
That is the hub. I mean, everywhere I go around the world, it's just as soon as California, Northern California, products, manufactured flower, et cetera, can get out to the rest of the world, ideas, it's just going to be incredible. There's such a demand out there. Just coming back from Spanibus and seeing that again and again. So, okay, so you Golden State Public Affairs. What does Golden State Public Affairs do? That's your current business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's save the big project.
Yeah. So in a normal week, I'm working on different kinds of lobbying efforts and policy writing. So just yesterday in the halls here at Benzinga, I called into a meeting in Lake County, California, and we were able to win an extension on tax reform for cultivation. Mm-hmm. And, the tax structure has been completely out of whack in every way in California and totally unsustainable for the industry. And last year we won tax relief and we got an extension of that yesterday and made it permanent. So that's an example. Wow. Yeah.
That's important.
These little wins are everything, actually. We're still, a hugely important, Northern California is a huge important growing region and manufacturing region, and being able to stabilize that industry and help it survive through the volatility in the market is critical. So tax reform win, and next I'll be working on some regulations for a few other countries that I'm helping with.
Are you thinking about going to the NCA lobby days, May 16th through 18th? We just had Aaron Smith on, and I just remembering how we were talking about it because it's like an important day. A few hundred industry professionals get out there together and stuff. But it seems like you were...
Yeah.
The perfect thing for you.
So I was on a rooftop in Berlin last summer, and I had an important moment where I said, I don't really focus a lot on federal policy.
Right.
My focus is mostly states and local in the U.S. And someone said, don't forget about how important it is at the federal level. And I never forget that, right? But I haven't personally put my effort towards it. And my experience has been so valuable on the ground in the states and the counties and cities where I've worked that I think it's time I probably show up in D.C.
Yeah, it is beyond me. I think the federal government is beyond any of us, but you got to get in there and do your part, I guess. It's a really difficult challenge. It's a challenge. It's much more, things are much more realistic and happening. You can touch people at the county, city, state level, but then DC is just, I don't know. I'm just going to go and see what I can learn. Somebody wants to hear my opinion, whatever. We'll see what happens. So excellent. So that's a great, you're one of the OGs of the industry. You knew your way around. What were you doing before the eve of 2016?
I was doing communications work, and that's why I got invited by someone in the industry to run the ballot initiative because
Okay.
they needed somebody who had professional experience with communications and was well respected and well integrated into the community, who wasn't afraid to walk into any boardroom and say, let's talk about cannabis. And so from the very beginning, I saw myself as a bridge between the industry and the community more broadly, the electeds. And I didn't have to be afraid of my kids being taken away from me or what was in my backyard.
Right.
And I saw that early on, that's where we were at. That's where still a lot of the world is at, where it's not really safe to be on the front lines of legalization efforts. And I actually found that to be a calling, and I got really, really turned on by the policy work because I saw we could change policy, we could change reality, and we could change what business was possible.
I don't even talk to prohibitionists anymore. I just don't bother. I came from a very conservative prosecutor background, and it just totally changed. Mostly, let's focus on Jason. So, I drift into these stories. Jason, and then I was gonna say, how'd you meet Jason? But we're gonna go, Jason, how'd you meet Sarah?
Yeah.
So let's talk about you, Jason. How'd you get into cannabis? And then we're gonna get to culture.
So I've been in cannabis a long time, 14 years now. Started in the state of Montana in 2009 under the medical marijuana program that was legalized by voters. I built that business from a $3,000 personal investment into 5 stores, 2 big cultivations, and the largest grossing medical cannabis operation in the state of Montana from 2009 until I got raided by the feds in November 2011. Beyond that, I got indicted by the federal government January 2012.
Pound that out.
Yeah, that following year, they or a few months later, they indicted me on 3 counts. And I elected to go to trial because I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I was following state and city guidelines to the T. Fully licensed in every city where we had stores. So I felt good that I needed to kind of stand on my position as a licensed Montanan at that time.
Yeah.
Because this issue wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't between me and the federal government. That was between the state of Montana and the federal government. So I elected to go to trial. I beat them on 1 of the 3 counts.
Nice.
I lost on 2. I was sentenced to a prison term, federal prison.
Oh, I'm sorry.
After losing on 2 of the counts, which
Yeah.
we stood up and said, "Hey, yes, we did this by definition of federal law. We grew and distributed medical marijuana,
Yeah.
but under the notion of different legal terms and entrapment and things like that, we didn't feel that the fight was between Jason Washington and the United States of America. But that's what it
And
turned
you had
out
to
to be.
serve time. I was giving you a pound
Yeah.
because an indictment and breaking the rules is like a badge of honor in this industry.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, it does suck that you have to do time.
Yeah.
How much time did you do?
So I was found guilty of 2 counts that carried 5-year mandatory minimum. So by definition, federal definition, I should have done 10 years.
Right?
My judge downward departed, gave me a year on each count due
Okay.
to the fact that this was not a clandestine drug operation. And so then that sentence was appealed to the Ninth Circuit. So I was initially given 2 years.
Right.
That sentence was appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. They agreed with the prosecution in that I should have got 10. But I was sent back for resentencing in front of my district judge.
Yeah.
That judge was so upset that the initial ruling was appealed, or the initial sentence was appealed.
Right.
He reduced my sentence from 24 down to 21 months and basically said that was enough. At the time, I had a 4-year probation tail. I went back to the University of Montana, finished my 2nd degree, brought 17 months on probation, and then he sent me home.
We had a lot of Montana guys when that was happening in 2010, 11, 12.
Yeah,
Come down to Arizona.
you did.
And that's
Absolutely.
So you came at 2017. You got back into the business.
Yeah, 2017, I moved back to California. A good friend of mine, Matthew Morgan, who also was a Montana.
Matt Morgan, another
Yeah.
Montana guy.
Yeah.
There's
He,
dozens of them in Arizona.
Yeah, he moved down to Arizona and started Bloom dispensaries there, and then he was leaving Bloom, and we moved over. Prior to that, he left Bloom, went to Reef, and then he was leaving Reef, and we went over and started the Ignite Cannabis Company.
Yeah.
And we were there for a short period of time before kind of value set didn't align, and we transitioned out, and that was the birth of Culture and where I stand today.
So you work with Ignite as well.
Yeah, we're the founders on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were like a legend, man.
Man, we're moving around quite a bit.
Ignite has kicked ass. Are you still friends with Matt Morgan?
Yeah, great friends. He lives here in Miami now. I saw him 2 nights ago.
Oh, wow. Tell him I said hi.
I will.
There was all these guys, and I mentioned his name. I'm sorry about that. But there's all these guys that came through Montana, came down from Montana down to Arizona, to run.
Montana was ahead.
Yeah.
And, we were fully state legal at the time, so it was a good training ground. Those guys, look, not taking anything away from Bodnar and those guys, whatever, they went on to build big companies, and they made a lot of money. But unfortunately, I took the fall on that deal.
Yeah, and I remember Matt Morgan. He did pretty well with Bloom. Then he moved on to other things, and he's such a good guy. I want to say sweetheart, but he's like a gentle soul that like really tough. I've always liked him.
Yeah, fitness is a passion, for him. So, but yeah, he's a good dude all around. One of my best friends.
And that's great. Well, tell him I said hi. And now your focus is on. And how did you guys meet? How did you meet her?
I met Sarah in Berlin, and actually
last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
And actually, from a discussion we had at that ICBC conference in Berlin, this Denver project that we're working on now was birthed just from the commonality that in a position that we saw in the industry for what's next in the cannabis space.
Right.
Kind of the 1.0 box dispensary thing had kind of been played out, or from our perspective, it's kind of played out, and not really the next step in the evolution of the industry and how to normalize cannabis and just allow cannabis to kind of fold into the normal things we do in life, instead of being this like seedy undercover, still walking in, putting your hood on because you don't want people to see you going into a box dispensary.
Yeah.
And so Kulture as a standalone piece is just a full service cannabis agency where we specialize in providing operational expertise for license holders in emerging markets.
Right.
And so that's why I was there in Berlin and happened to meet Sarah at that time. And since then, we've been connected at the hip.
That's an incredible story. And I love the fact, and I'm really sorry that you had to do time.
Sure.
Because that really does
I'll tell
suck.
you this, man. At this point, look, I'm not sorry about it. It was something that I had to go through, and it was something that was, for whatever reason, was meant for me to experience.
Right.
And that experience has continued to open doors, in places like this, through this new Denver project, and the plan has taken care of me for a long time, and my family as well.
But it's really good to see individuals like yourself succeeding in the cannabis space, after suffering the wrongs directly of the cannabis industry. There's a lot of like questions around what social equity is and who deserves in social equity.
Right.
Unequivocally, 1,000%, you are the individual that I think that the social equity should be targeting. I mean, you are an individual who directly suffered, not your family, but you and your family, of course, but not really. But you directly suffered the wrongs of the drug war.
Yeah, no,
so your success in the cannabis industry is inspiring. It's appropriate.
This is the first time I've utilized anything under the social equity program.
Yeah.
Because my charges are federal out of the jurisdiction of Montana.
Right.
Montana doesn't have an equity program, so I have not been able to participate in that state.
Right.
Also, I couldn't participate in California or anywhere else. That was the reason the agency model took place, because we've operated assets and facilities in 7 states across the U.S. But until Denver came out with this program, which allowed other people to apply with charges from outside of Colorado, this is now the first time I've been able to participate in a license of my
That's
of my
good
own.
for the Colorado people.
Yeah.
Are you responsible for that?
Yeah. Well, my whole career
Did you change the law in Colorado?
I didn't.
Somebody
didn't
else did.
change
Well,
that one.
could have been.
My whole career has been at the intersection of policy and business.
Yeah.
And I'm usually trying to change policy to enable business. And I've seen a lot of businesses make bad decisions at that juncture. And I've seen a lot of people spend/waste a lot of money. And, you've seen cannabis not benefit who ending the war on drugs was supposed to benefit.
Yeah.
Right. And when I met Jason and heard his story, I found it very compelling, that he wasn't able to operate an asset under his own name. And he was one of the pioneers in the industry. And so he asked me, can you help me find a place so I can operate an asset under my own name? Not on behalf of somebody else, not under a management contract, but like open a brick and mortar like I had in Montana, and do this again and do this right. And so I surveyed the whole country and I looked at different social equity programs to find out where was that sweet spot of both opportunity that he could qualify for
Nice.
and a business model that would actually be compelling enough that we would want to build it.
Right.
Because we did not want just, what I call the weed in the box model 1.0, where we were really boxed into selling cannabis in a way that is totally unnatural, and it's not how we sell or consume any other product, much less any other stimulant. If you could only go to the beer store and you could only buy the beer and put it in a bag and then go and drink it in your car,
Right.
the world would be a very different place. So I looked across the country, and there were, we're now in kind of like social equity next wave, right? There were some early on social equity programs, and I would argue that many of them have failed. And now there's another wave of social equity programs that are coming out, and they're often very narrowly defined. Usually they qualify you for social equity based on your income or your prior drug charges or the neighborhood you lived in, if it was, considered an impact zone. And that's looked at by different economic indicators and different crime indicators usually. And so it's very, nuanced how you qualify. And then, of course, there's these residency requirements. And they look at, have you lived there for 10 years? And all of these criteria actually rule out a lot of people that social equity was intended to help in the first place. And then I stumbled upon what was happening in Denver. And just early on this year, they launched a new social equity hospitality license.
Social equity hospitality license.
That is the only of its kind in the U.S. And it's just within the city of Denver. So as a state, Colorado has made a commitment to social equity, and they actually have a process by which you can qualify to show that you are a social equity candidate. And one of those criteria is previous criminal charges. And then within the city of Denver, they have a special license type called the hospitality license that enables new business activity that we've never seen combined before.
Okay.
So it allows hospitality services such as food or beverage, as well as cannabis retail and cannabis consumption in the same general location. And I'm saying that very vaguely because there are some rules and restrictions about what you can sell at a certain register and how you can mix these different activities. There are always rules. But for the first time under the same roof, generally, we can house these things and offer a different kind of cannabis consumption experience and a different kind of consumer experience.
Yeah.
And when I discovered this, I also found that the way that they qualify you is if you become a resident of Colorado and you move to Colorado as a social equity applicant, you are eligible on day one that you make that move. So I called Jason. I said, "Are you ready to move to Denver?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Tell me what's good."
Where were you before here in Miami with Matt?
I wish. No,
I've seen his Instagram.
Yeah.
Real World Miami. Real Weed Miami.
Our office is based in Oakland, California.
Okay, so you're in Oakland?
I'm born and raised. We'll always maintain a presence there. But yeah, now Denver is
okay.
home.
And so where are you guys in your project? This sounds like a really cool concept.
It's a really cool
Is there
concept.
like diagrams and where are you guys? Are you raising capital for it?
Yeah.
That's why we're here. We have a small capital raise.
Okay.
I've been a part of a lot of projects that have raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to be the guy out raising the money, though. I've always just preferred to stay on the operations side. So this Benzinga conference was the first for me out actually trying to actively raise capital. And, with our luck, we hit it at a time where the market is not so ripe for such things. But I think we've made some good headway this far.
That's awesome. And so you guys, are there other people involved? Are you guys partners? You guys have a big group of individuals. How large is your team?
Well, right now we're still in the due diligence phase, really, of the project. Like what we've been focused on for the last few months is finding real estate, which is no small task.
Okay.
Because the downside of a lot of the licensing programs, broadly and specifically social equity licensing, is that we face huge zoning and location challenges.
Yes.
Right. You can do this, but you are going to have a hell of a time finding a place where you can actually open a business that will survive. Right. So we allow cannabis, but then we zone it out and we put it on the edges of town, and there's no foot traffic. There's no other businesses around that are going to be a draw. So we have been searching for real estate in Denver for several months now. And just last week, we found a building that is a real gem. So now I have not only diagrams, but
Fantastic.
3D photographs of this building.
Excellent.
Now that we have real estate identified that is compliant and also highly desirable, and would allow us to build a really dynamic business in an old historic building that people want to walk into and want to be in, and is also in a great neighborhood with a prime demographic and good walking score, these kinds of things. Now that we have real estate, the project is real in a whole new way.
Since it's new, are you having to deal with city officials like that don't know what this means, kind of thing?
I'll
Like
tell them the story about the woman we met.
Yeah.
So
but I can see that. I can people be like, this is what it means.
Yeah. So when we both went to the ICBC conference in Barcelona this year, and I think when you were on the plane, you got the notification from the state of Colorado that your social equity eligibility had been confirmed, because you have to go through a process, fingerprint, submit your history so they can say, yes, you are a qualified social equity applicant. And that's step one. And then you apply for the license within the city. So the
captain of the plane says, folks, Jason has qualified for social equity.
There you go. Round of applause.
Yeah.
So we get to Barcelona, and we're standing outside the conference one day, and he goes, so what's next? I said, all we need is to find one champion within the city of Denver to really understand our project and our mission. I've done this work for a long time, and I'm like, we need to find that one champion. And I think 2 days later, we're at a social lounge where, they have, Barcelona is unique in this. They're one of the only places in the world where they have consumption lounges. Mm-hmm. And we're at a lounge, and we were waiting for Jason to go on a podcast, the podcast that never happened, actually.
Barcelona or Berlin? Because
we're in Barcelona.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was a month ago.
Yeah.
A month ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're sitting on the couch, and this woman walks up to us and says, so I hear you're applying for a license in Denver. And I said, yeah, we are. And she goes, oh, well, I run the social equity hospitality license program for the city of Denver. And I said, without missing a beat, I said, you have a great program. You have some of the most wonderful opportunity in the country. Unfortunately, businesses are going to fail because there's nowhere for them to be located. Mm-hmm. And she says, well, there's still some places you can be. I said, no, there's no places we can be. We have been there. We have been, driving through the city, and we've had multiple realtors try to work with us on identifying real estate. And I said,
she has a map?
Well, so I say, I have the perfect building, and I'm zoned out. And she says,
oh, that's the other way, yeah.
Well, tell me about it. And why are you zoned out? And so I explained to her the nuances of our location and the different setbacks and restrictions that are on it. And she says, that criteria doesn't apply to you. And I said, I read the whole book. And she said, I wrote the book. Yeah. And I was like, we're sitting down right now. So we go downstairs to the lodge. We get a couch.
You picked the right partner, Jason.
That's right. I know. Listen, what's meant for you is not going to miss you.
Yeah.
So we sit down for an hour, and we pull up the address in the zoning tool that the city of Denver has, and we read through the regulations, and I'm like, we got real estate.
Nice.
And then we spend the rest of the time talking about the process and what it's going to look like for us as applicants going through the process. And she really is coaching us. She is committed to helping these applicants succeed, despite the obstacles, and has come in from outside of government, but with an industry background, and is now trying to really open up the pathway for these cannabis businesses and equity-owned businesses specifically to succeed within Denver. And so we talked it through, and I was like, we got work to do. We've got real estate, we've got social equity qualification, and we've got a friend in government. Yeah.
And that's having a friend in government is absolutely important. And being able to talk to them in government language is another as important. You really did pick the right partner.
Look, meeting her it was a culmination of a lot of things.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's like fate.
The party we were at was at Bank of England that was given by Grove Bags. Grove Bags, we have a partnership. They produced all of our mailers for our clothing line, which are oversized eighth bags, if you will. So all the stars have just been aligning to this mission, and when those sorts of things happen, it really just solidifies that thought of, are we on the right path? And so, I think we've been, everything is aligned for us thus far. So
I remember I was in Barcelona, and the haze is starting to be lifted over my brain because I forgot a lot about what happened in Barcelona. Don't ask why. So, what else should people know about your project and how they get in touch with you? I mean, you guys are a great team, and this is a really cool project, but I mean, you guys are young. There's going to be a lot of success for you, a lot of projects in the future. So people should reach out and just befriend you, take you to coffee, talk about what you guys are doing. and this is a cool project, but I want people to know how to get in touch with you guys personally.
Yeah, we got 10 other cool projects too.
Yeah, no, I mean, no.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, you're a legacy guy. You're an OG. You suffered the wrongs. But obviously, you're always also a great businessman, working with some great projects before and post what happened to you.
Yeah.
And then you just a tiger. Just forget about it. She's gonna. If I was a city official, I'd be like, just yes.
Yeah.
Just do it. I'll do it. Okay. Change the law. Change the law. Change the regulation. You got the interpretation. You win. So how do people get in touch with you?
Best way to probably find me is either through social media channels, Instagram, Jason D. Washington, or culture.global. And that's all of our handles point to that culture.global. So they can find us there.
Yeah, and you can find me on LinkedIn at Sarah Bodnar or on Instagram at Sarah E. Bodnar.
I really look forward to catching up with you guys a year from now, 5 years from now.
Absolutely. We definitely got to have you to Denver to do the podcast live around an event, once the facility is up and going.
And I'm thrilled that you're succeeding in the cannabis industry. If there's anything I can do personally to help, I meet a lot of people. I forget a lot of things, so I apologize. But you can call me directly.
Yeah.
I was a prosecutor for like 10, 12 years.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how many times that we just, rolled through cases without thinking about the morality, the ethics. You've got a job to do.
Yep.
Our chief prosecutor said focus on domestic violence, focus on financial crimes. Don't really give all the guys with marijuana probation, just get them out of here, which was good.
Sure.
Because he could make that call. And we just did what we did. So we were like domestic violence, jail time.
Yeah.
Did you use a weapon? Lots of jail time.
Yeah.
That's kind of like our mentality. But we don't really, it's not our job to do the ethics or morality of it. But after reflection, I kind of like, these were all the great entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
These were the guys that were willing to take the risks, that saw things. They're like the guys trading rugs in the Middle East during Jesus' time. These are the really cool people with a really good mindset, and they definitely deserve to be rewarded. So in my mind, social equity programs are designed exactly for people like you.
Yeah.
White, black, brown, poor, rich, doesn't really matter. If you spend time in jail, if you suffered the wrongs of the drug war directly,
Sure.
my God, this country owes you something.
Hey, I appreciate that.
And the world, too. Think about millions and not billions, millions and millions of people, Indonesia, Russia, United States, who were directly harmed, and then their families.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy. So I'm glad for your success. I look forward to your success. I look forward to following your story in the future. And you're just a tiger. I just love it.
Non-stop. She's tenacious, man.
I worked in government, and I'm like, okay, if she was like a defense attorney and I was like prosecuting, I'd be like, okay, what do you want? What do you want? She's good. You just get your way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being on MITA
Thank
Unshackled,
you.
and we
thank
look
you.
forward to your success.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.